You are listening to The Insider with Brian Lloyd. The opinions expressed are that of the individuals and can sometimes be of an adult nature.
My name is Brian Lloyd. I'm the movies editor with entertainment.ie. Our first guest is Mike Sheridan, the senior editor and the big head honcho.
You really went far with this one, didn't you? You looked across the desk.
I was like, who are we going to get? You know, it's the first episode. You know, we really got to just get the big talent in. Start as you mean to go on. It was like, Mike, would you mind doing it? Yeah, right. Yeah, grand, I'll do it. Yeah,
I'll send you an invoice after, Brian. No problem at all.
Oh Jesus. So I suppose the first thing we're going to be starting off with is Fantastic Four. This is the new Marvel movie with Miles Teller, Kate Mara, Michael B. Jordan, Toby Cabell. Great cast.
It's a Josh Trank movie.
Josh Trank as well, yeah.
And there's been a whole lot of rumours about what happened on the set of this.
Yeah.
Obviously, we weren't there. We don't know what happened.
No.
But this guy was lined up. He just done Chronicle. Was Chronicle before?
Yeah, Chronicle, yeah.
And very kind of highly sought after young director. And whatever happened on the set, it looks like something happened, whether there was a confrontation with the studio, but the film is fairly disjointed from what you were saying. But it's taken an absolute battering.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. I mean, like some of the reviews I've seen, like especially from like THR Variety, I mean, they are really going to town on it. Now, look, I've watched the film, and by the way, you can read our review on entertainment.ie to kind of get a better understanding of it.
Because you're quite noble failure.
Yeah, that's basically the way I took it. Was that it was trying to do something different. It was trying to maybe, I don't know, subvert the comic book genre, if you like. There was a lot of really interesting influences. Like you had there was parts of it that were kind of like The Fly, David Cronenberg's The Fly, but it didn't work. And I think the reason why it didn't work was because obviously, you know, the onset problems that were there. I mean, it seemed like Josh Trank was going through some sort of personal problems during the filming of it as well.
The studio got involved or something.
The studio got involved as well. Maybe they stepped in, I don't know. But it is very clear that you're not getting a clear vision of what he had in mind.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
I don't understand this. I don't get how when you're going to put a $100 million plus movie or whatever the budget is on this, it's a Marvel movie, it's Fox. I'm assuming there's an awful lot of money put behind it.
Yeah.
Why that conversation doesn't happen? I mean, maybe it did. I don't know, but why that conversation wouldn't happen where you're like, look, you know, this is the type of movie I want to make. But between the studio and the director, the producer and the director and the studio, this is the type of movie I want to make. This is what I have to spend. Don't go over budget. This is what we're going to do. You know, so I don't understand how that much money can be invested in something and it can all this shit can still come out.
I don't know, like you see, this is it. Like it's the kind of thing that you're dealing with artistic personalities
and business and people who are commerce who were in the studios.
This is it, like
job it is to make money.
Exactly, this is it. They're coming at it from like a really logical standpoint. It's in like you've got this amount of money, you've got to get it done in this time frame. You have to have this, and this in it, and that's it. That's all you've got to do. Whereas, you know, Josh Trank was coming in, and obviously he wanted to make, you know, big sweeping statements about, you know, how we view, you know, different people in society and all this kind of thing. I'm not saying it was in Fantastic Four, but I'm just saying that's the mind frame he's coming from. Where
he's taking it from a very much a grounded, realistic.
Yeah, grounded, realistic. Yeah, very much so. I'm really like hard sci-fi as well. Like nearly, like I say again, calling back to like the stuff David Cronenberg used to do back in the 80s, all the kind of weird body horror films he did, like Videodrome and Scanners and all that sort of thing. But I mean, yeah, we're talking about Fantastic Four, but what I'm more kind of trying to aim at is the fact that, you know, all the problems that Fantastic Four had were very, very well publicized before the film even reached the cinema. And what I've noticed is, I think a lot of critics, and look, I'm not saying I'm immune to this myself, but you notice that a lot of critics seem to be just like waiting for it to get into the cinema, and they just like had the knives out ready and waiting for it. And
it's already been under scrutiny to a certain point.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And actually, funny you should say that as well, because Josh Trank, one of the reasons he gave why he pulled out of the Star Wars spin-off Rogue One was he said that he was under such scrutiny from entertainment journalists during Fantastic Four that he didn't want to go through that again.
Imagine what it would be like for Star Wars.
Exactly. Imagine what that's going to be like. And not only that as well, keep in mind that like Fantastic Four doesn't necessarily have a huge fan base.
After the first Tim Story movies.
Yeah, after the first two were pretty crap. Like, whereas you look at something like Star Wars that has a massive fan base that will literally comb through every possible bit of news or rumor or gossip or anything about the film. And he will just like, if he had done Rogue One, Like, if he thought he had a magnifying glass on him for Fantastic Four, my God, it's going to be 10 times that for Rogue One.
J.J. Abrams was obviously directing the main Star Wars movie. He's fantastic at doing those films cloaked, cloaked movies, those, you know, where the on-set secrets seem to stay on set.
Yeah.
Like, we made the Super 8 a few years ago.
Nobody
knew about it.
Nobody had a clue.
I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you can still do that in today's day and age. But the flip side to that is that with the press tour that's gone on, and I happen to a certain degree with 50 Shades of Grey as well, where the press tour went on and the press tour was seen as a bit of a disaster. And now the press tour for Fantastic Four has been seen as a bit of a disaster. And I don't know whether that's because the main cast and everybody involved has to go and flog a film that didn't turn out very well. That happens with every movie. Or they didn't feel it turned out very well. Or because, you know, there's just more of a focus on it.
I think for this time around, I think for Fantastic Four, I do think it's a case of there's a focus on it. Like, there's an air about it, you know, that kind of way. And again, that's going back to my point about the fact that film critics, I think, just had this circled from day one. Like, you know, that kind of way. Like, it was just like, it was on a list.
Because years ago, and it's mad to say now, years ago, for stuff like Ain't the Cool News, which was the whole kind of basis of the site, was like a fanboy site. It was where the fanboy kind of began, the comic book store guy. It's supposed to be based on Harry Knowles and all that stuff. And I think that's really it's changed so much now that everybody's kind of like that.
You see THR like has their own like heat vision, I think it's called, and all this. Like, it's crazy. But I mean, look, I suppose what I'm saying about Fantastic Four is that, like, look, I didn't like it. It wasn't a good film, but damn it was trying to do something.
It was noble.
It was a noble attempt. But I think you know, the backlash that it's getting and the drubbing that it's getting at the minute, I think is very, very unfair. You know, like, you see like critics like, you know, A.O. Scott in the New York Times, and you even see Donald Clark in Irish Times. You know, they really do they take a very dim view of comic book films, I think. And I thought, like, Fantastic Four was trying to do something different. It was trying to, you know, be a little bit more original, take more risks, be more daring. And instead, you know, they're just giving it the knife. And, you know, so it's kind of like, what do you want? Like, you know, that kind of way. Do you want something that's trying to be different, that's trying to change it up a bit? Or do you just want, like, another, you know, 2 hour 20-minute CGI show?
I mean, to play devil's advocate, I suppose it's that, like, a good movie is a good movie.
Yeah.
And I think with the comic book stuff, I think there's just so many of them.
Yeah, it is saturation point.
And Dan Gilroy had that thing after Nightcrawler came out where he made a speech at the Independent Spirit Awards when Nightcrawler won, saying something about no more comic book movies, and guys like James Gunn got really pissed off because of Guardians of the Galaxy is a really fun comic book movie. So it might be saturation point, and especially, and we spoke about this on another podcast, it's that, you know, people are a little bit jaded and they're just a little bit pissed off, but ultimately a good movie is a good movie. And that's what it comes down to, regardless. And I get that Trank was trying to do something a little bit different, but, you know, that doesn't make it a good movie.
No,
that makes it a noble movie, but not necessarily an entertaining one.
Yeah,
because you have to put bums in seats.
This is it. And again, this goes back to the fact that, you know, there was this air following it. It's going to keep people away, I think, you know, because, like, they're going to be like, well, why would you bother? Like,
well, this is the thing, though. Do you think, you know, critics have a huge, like, obviously there's an element that there's a big impact, but for movies of that size, for big, huge tentpole movies, obviously buzz plays a part. But do critics really dictate whether an audience, whether somebody in Middle America go to a cinema in a shopping mall, or somebody in Ireland, do you think they really care that much when they're deciding what to go and see on a Saturday night or a Friday night?
I'll be honest and say, well, the studios seem to think we do.
Yeah,
the studios definitely seem to think they do, because, like, look at Fantastic Four. That was screened on a Wednesday and it's out tomorrow.
Yeah,
or it's out on Thursday. Yeah, so, like, obviously they're terrified of what we're going to say about it as well. And, like, the embargoes we get nowadays seem to be much more tighter to release date than I've seen before for the bigger ones. But no, realistically, no. Like, I mean, if you're at a cinema and you're looking up at what's on offer, you're just going to go, right, Fantastic Four, there's plenty of that, there's loads of screenings for that. Yeah, feck it, we'll give that a go. And I don't think
somebody's in it that you like. There's somebody.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're always going to, like, identify somebody with it. I don't think if they are, it's a shock to me, and it's great for me. Like, but I don't think they're, like, people are on their phones reading reviews as they're picking out the films. I don't think so.
Even in, like, I mean, when I was a teenager and stuff growing up in the 90s, it was all Empire magazine.
Yeah,
and it was this huge, you know, if Empire said it was good, or if
you'll
Total
give it a
Film
go,
said it was good, or Neon, or these really cool magazines, you give it a bash. And it's funny to see now is that again, it goes back to that point in saturation that this news was everywhere. That this film there was all these behind the scenes stuff. People love a bit of gossip, and this film's going to be crap. And that was it. People have maybe decided. But in saying that as well, there's a point that it could have been lowered expectations. Sometimes they've helped films before.
They definitely have, yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of films I've seen where I've heard like terrible stuff about it, and like there was all these blah 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 going on beforehand, and then you go in and sit down and it's like, well, that actually wasn't that bad. That was like a lot more better than I thought it would be. What film was it? It was either Godzilla or World War Z. World War Z was a perfect example. That had a really, really bad production, and everyone was prepared to just wipe it off completely. And when everyone sat down, they were like, "This is actually pretty good. It was actually very, very well done."
Because that's a mad movie. Because anybody that didn't know what went on, because they reshot a huge part of that movie, and Brad Pitt apparently, allegedly directed scenes from it after there was issues with Mark Foster, the original director. But if you watch the movie carefully, I hadn't read the book, and I know people feel really passionately about the book. But there's a whole subplot in the book that was completely cut. So in one scene, you can see somebody you can see one of the main characters walking towards the camera, and you can see Matthew Fox just in the background. Just like there's Matthew Fox's that's stuck for work. He's he's like an extra. Hey. And it wasn't. It was because there was an entire subplot featuring him.
That was cut out.
But that's a very fair point, I think, is that they can turn out still entertaining if the crooks. But World War Z had really strong material from the start.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they had a lot going for it. Like, and the problem with Fantastic Four was that like you had the two original films, the ones with Jessica Alba as well, and the tone between this one and that one are completely different. Do you know that sort of way? As in, like, the Jessica Alba ones were almost like a cartoon, whereas this one is very, very serious. And then again, you look at like, but that can work. That can work to an advantage. Like, you look at like the Joel Schumacher Batman films; they were just basically cartoons towards the end, like Batman and Robin. Like, come on, like, and then you go look at something like Batman Begins, which is a complete 180 turn.
Is that what he was trying to do? Was that what Trank was trying to do?
Maybe. I would think that's how we sold it. I would think that's how we sold it. And like, no, we'll go back to the start. We'll make it really serious. We'll make it really in depth. We'll do a Christopher Nolan reset on it, and it didn't work. So there we are. So yeah. So I don't know. I'm a little bit sad. Like I had hope for it. I really had hope.
Because the first trailer, from a marketing point of view, the first trailer was almost shot for shot like Interstellar.
Yeah,
I was like, this is a strange vibe for the type of movie that it is. And I think the problem as well with a lot of the Marvel properties is that they're everywhere.
Yeah,
and that they're not lapsing. So there's, for anybody that doesn't know, there's some that belong to Sony. Spider-Man belongs to Sony. They're loaning Spider-Man out to the Disney Marvel, which is the Avengers. You kind of using that as a marketing tool. Fox own Fantastic Four. They also own Deadpool and the X-Men.
Yeah.
So, and then DC, which is a whole other thing with Superman and Batman and the Suicide Squad. So you can see what you were talking about, like, the more traditional film critics getting a little bit like, come on now, make some other movies. And there might be something to be said for the fact that, the mid-range budget movies aren't happening a lot anymore. There's very few $30 to $50 million movies just happening anymore because, films have gotten so expensive and production has gotten so expensive, and it's very hard for an actor to have to, because there's not many actors that can do it anymore anyway, to open a movie. And that's what you really need. You need somebody like Focus is a prime example of that. Well, Focus is probably a little bit more expensive, maybe $60-70 million movie, and you got Will Smith, one of the biggest movie stars, Margot Robbie, one of the hottest movie stars working at the moment, and it did okay. It did grand, probably just about turned a profit. But how many of those where can you get a Leonardo DiCaprio or can you get a Will Smith where you don't have a Martin Scorsese or something like that involved? So it's an issue. It is an issue with cinema now.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's the kind of thing it's interesting. Like, you look at Alexander Payne, that guy that did Nebraska a couple of years ago. A very well-known director, very, very well-respected director. And he said the exact same thing that you said as well. He was like, where are all these $30 million films? Where's like the Groundhog Day of this generation? A small film made for about 10 to 20 million that had a big actor. Where are they gone? I don't
think it's happened with big actors. I think people have to take risks now. That's probably more of a sell. But Judd Apatow's doing that for fun.
Yeah,
he's produced them from fun since 40-Year-Old Virgin. Where he's like, look, you can take an unknown actor. You can take somebody who people kind of half know from Anchorman and The Daily Show and Steve Carell, and you can turn him into a star because he's talented. The script's good. It's happened to Trainwreck now. It's happened, which is really good fun, by the way. And it's happened with Amy Schumer. He did it with Seth Rogen. It's just, I think producers like Apatow are just few and far between, that they're willing to take risks and they're willing to go to bat on guys like him, and even Jason Segel, and where these guys obviously have a voice, they obviously have a tone, and they just need a little bit of shepherding. And then also on the they can go to the studios and be like, look, $30 million isn't that much.
Yeah, you can part with that pretty easily.
You can part with that easy.
Yeah, like it's the kind of thing that, like, for 30 million. For them, that could be like the CGI budget for one of their films.
And I guarantee most directors will still say it's not enough, because if you look at Southpaw, which is out a couple of weeks, and it's kind of hanging in there. The box office is doing quite well, which is, I think, a $40 million movie. And Jake Gyllenhaal, in my opinion, the best actor working today. Certainly of his generation. He's and in the roles he's picking, he's been like kind of rolled out everywhere trying to sell the movie, but he's never really opened a movie before, as they say in Hollywood.
No, not at all.
Really opened a movie, but he's got that, going back to that buzz thing, he's got that buzz where he's just, people are beginning to kind of go, this guy's kind of does cool stuff. He's choosing the right roles. He
does. He had like fair play to his agent, or maybe it's not even his agent. Maybe it's just him himself. Like, he's got a good radar for it. Like Southpaw. Yeah, that's a perfect example of like a film that was made for not a huge amount of money, but had good actors in it, had a good story, and it worked.
Yeah, simple story as well.
Very
easy sell.
Yeah, very, very easy sell. And as you say, they are few and far between. They are very, very few and far between.
And it's funny because going back to that kind of lead actor aspect, who, like, with the lead in Fantastic Four, I suppose,
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller.
Yeah.
Who, speaking of the disastrous press tour, the whole thing's obviously come out with Esquire.
And
it's different, a lot of actors, because you never know when you do an interview with somebody and it's in print, or it's it's a written interview, you never know how they're going to shape it or whatever, or depending on the journalist, obviously. I don't know at this point in question, but they do need to be able to sell the movie as well, and you do need to go out there, and we've both done movie junkets where people just weren't into it.
No.
And get that, you do 30, 40 interviews a day.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, it's easy for us to be like, geez, you're not giving me anything.
We flew over from London. I had this discussion with a famous Irish actor, a young famous Irish actor, where he said, oh man, it's 40 interviews that day. He was just chatting away, and it was 40 interviews that day. He was promoting a smaller film, and he'd been in a bigger film. And I was kind of looking, going, yeah, but I flew over, or I would have flown over from Ireland at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. that morning, and got up at 5 a.m. to come over to do those 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm traveling half the day.
Yeah, I get that it's a frustrating experience, and it's a frustrating experience for everybody. If there's no dynamic or it doesn't pick up, you've done a bunch of these interviews.
Of course, yeah.
But I think Teller's now it's similar to Frank, that he's getting tainted a little bit now, despite being like I think the best film of last year that came out last year. Whiplash is an amazing
incredible film.
Simmons
absolutely
deserved the Oscar. Teller's fantastic, and my kind of looking at Teller, my kind of vibe on Teller was like, this is the type of role that Tom Cruise would have done in the 80s.
You think?
If this had come out in the 80s, this is that colour of money, kind of a dickish character, but he's obsessed and he's got a purpose, and it just, whatever reason about Miles Teller in Whiplash, it just was like, this is a Tom Cruise role 30 years ago.
Now, funny you should say that, because I always kind of thought it was a real Robert De Niro thing in the 70s. Like, you could totally imagine Whiplash, if it was done in the 70s, it'd be directed by Martin Scorsese, and it'd be Robert De Niro, like, really, like, you could,
Harvey Keitel,
yeah, any one of them, like, really kind of like really sinewy, like, really give a real physical performance, like, they're just like bashing away at it, like.
Because I'd hate to see Teller,
definitely.
I don't want to see anybody come out as bad, because Michael B. Jordan as well is an awesome actor.
Yeah,
such a good actor.
He's going to be in Creed.
Yeah, he's got the Rocky sequel, the 7th
spin-off or something.
Yeah, he's got that coming out. So I think learn a lesson and move on. The studio are probably going to lose money on it. We don't know now. But learn a lesson and move on, I would say.
Definitely, yeah. But to go back to Miles Teller, yeah, I mean, and just the whole thing about interviews as well. Like, you look at somebody like Jesse Eisenberg. Like, you're talking about like these interviews that they do, that they have to go out and try sell the film. Like, Jesse Eisenberg, God help him. Like, I don't know. There's just something about that guy. He just can't seem to sit for an interview and do it right. Like, I mean, there was a big controversy recently that he was at San Diego Comic-Con, and he said it was like attending a genocide.
Yeah, we're not quoting him verbatim there.
I'm not quoting him verbatim.
He mentioned the word genocide.
He mentioned the word genocide.
He likened it to Comic-Con, and I think, and then people went mental.
And people went mental at him. But, like, that's not the first time he's done that. Like, he's done a few interviews where
I see, this is the thing. I think we're all prone to hyperbole in certain situations.
Yeah.
But this goes back to this focus, and we're absolutely guilty of it, where you have to focus on people that are big names, and that kind of comes with it. But yeah, he always seems like I've never interviewed him. but he seems like you interviewed him.
No, I was meant to interview him for that time he was over for Now You See Me, and I didn't do it. But I was talking to the guy that interviewed him for here, and I said it to him afterwards. I said, "What was he like?" He said, He's very just like, he just sits like this, this kind of way. He just sits like really like gripping the seat, and he's just really focused, and he's just trying to get through the interview. Like, and like, there are actors like you interviewed Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford is notorious for hating interviews. Yeah. And he says it as well. Like, he admits it. Like, I remember I saw him on Conan, and he was like, "I hate doing interviews. I hate these things." And you're almost just kind of like, why would studios bother their arses? No, honestly, like, why would studio bother their arses, forcing them to do it?
Do you know what it is? I think with the likes of Harrison Ford, and you see it with De Niro now as well.
Yeah.
Whereas you've seen De Niro do like laps of talk shows.
Yeah.
And De Niro do movie junkets. De Niro never used to attend premieres.
Yeah, I remember that.
Now you see movie junkets, right? Yeah. What's happened there is, and this is a guess, but I think it's a moderately educated one. It's that Robert De Niro's fee per movie, something like $4 million. Harrison Ford will have something similar. Sylvester Stallone and these kind of old school guys are like, right. So the studios are going, look, we'll meet your quota. We'll give you the $4 or $5 million.
You're going to do the press tour.
But you're doing the press tour. And I think that's what happened because that was for Cowboys and Aliens, which bombed.
Yeah.
I didn't bomb, I didn't do great.
Yeah. And
I just come out of one of my favorite interview I've ever done with Jon Favreau. That went over like by twice or two or three times the limit. I didn't give a shit. I was like, whatever, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I went in and he was getting his picture taken with somebody, and that annoys me when people do that as well. But he was getting his picture taken with somebody who'd interviewed him previously. It was a very pretty young lady, and then I walk in, sweaty Irish guy. Talking about Star Wars, so he's probably like, "Oh, fuck this guy," and I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah,
but it's those instances where you're like, it's Harrison Ford. It's still Harrison Ford. Yeah. You have to. I can't take a 6 or 7 minute interview. I can't take it personally. Like Harrison Ford, he's still awesome. Yeah, he's still awesome.
So I think that'll do it for today.
Absolutely,
I think that'll do it.
I'm done with you, Brian.
I'm done with you, Mike.
Somebody did comment on the last one that
it seemed like we didn't like each other.
Like we didn't like each other, or there was sexual tension. I'm not sure.
I
am squeezing something here.
Yeah,
sex
and I'm just I'm just kind of sitting like this, and I'm like folding my legs like this.
Yeah, somebody who deals with human movement, some psychologists would have a field day.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure we could get like some sort of analyst just to like sit through this.
But these are all startup podcasts, so you're going to have people in, and
definitely. Yeah, we are definitely going to have people in. We're going to be talking to directors. We're going to be talking to actors. We're going to be talking to writers. We may even be talking to censors as well.
That'll be great.
That'll be really great. Yeah. So it's going to be really cool. We're going to have big discussions about film, big broad chats about these kind of things. So definitely check it out. Really looking forward to it. Mike Sheridan, thanks a mil.